Yeah.
Hello everyone, hope you all are doing well and welcome to this webinar. I'm Akansha Sahay, Project Manager at RehabPath India team, and we are a Madison-based startup with a mission to fight mental health and addiction by helping the patients connect with the right rehabilitation center. And in today's webinar, we will be discussing causes of addiction and the spiritual aspect in treatment with Help Rehabilitation Centre. And our guest speakers are Mr. Joseph and Mr. Albert from Help Rehabilitation Centre, and from the RehabPath team we have Rajnandini, who is a MSc in Psychologist and will be driving rest of the conversation for today's webinar. So please feel free to drop in your questions on Zoom and on our Facebook page, and at the end of the session we will be taking up the questions. So over to you, Rajnandini.
Yeah, thank you, Akansha, and thank you, Mr. Albert and Mr. Joseph, for taking time out for this webinar. So let's get started. Maybe before we begin with the questions, could you tell our audience a little bit about yourselves? Why don't you start, Mr. Joseph?
Yeah. Hi everyone. Hi Rajnandini. I'm Joseph, by the way. I'm the director of this Help Foundation, and I myself is an alcoholic and an addict, recovered alcoholic and addict, and I give my experience here, not just my experience, but the way I recovered from my addiction using this 12-step program. And we correlate, we collaborate that with the medical side, the psychiatric side, the psychological counseling, everything in our treatment. And talking about me, I was involved with many other centers, also in and around Coimbatore previously, for almost a decade or so. And there were many hindrances because as you may have come across many treatment centers, each one have their own approach for this treatment program. So there were many issues which has to be addressed, and I was not able to do it around freely. So that is when I was inspired to start a rehab on my own. And this idea budded around 2015, and we started around 2016. And for the past 5 years, we have been for each and every year we have been starting a new rehab in and around Coimbatore. Now there are 3 rehabs, and now the 4th old age home is also functioning. So these are the various activities which I am involved in this Help Foundation. And apart from this, we also go around where our help is required in the society, like colleges, corporates, everywhere, and also get involved in this 12-step fellowship. So that's about me.
Okay. Mr. Albert, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Yeah, actually, my name is Albert. I'm basically from Bangalore. I did my MSc Psychology actually. Previously, I was working with children's name called Dambos Convilum, especially working for street children. So the children who are at risk, we rehabilitated and we give motivation and we give various trainings. So after Hello.
Yeah, sorry, I think we lost for a minute. We can hear you now.
Yeah.
You can continue.
Fine. So after that, I switch over to addiction field. So I got this inspiration actually. So I did based on that I did my psychology, and still now I'm doing my MPhil. So what I found out, actually, I can connect myself with people who are addicted. Actually, basically, I'm addicted. but I found my character almost similar to them. Actually, I found with the character defects they have, I too met with so many character defects actually. So when I started with mingling with people, addicted people, I myself get resolved so much of character from the character defects actually. So that was the benefit I got from that addicted people. So one more thing also, the major thing, what I studied, that is apart from that, there is some gap is there actually. That gap is actually called as a spiritual practice. So when I deeply enter into it, so I found so much of connections to the mystics and the spiritual aspects. So that part actually made me totally a full figure. So this is what my experience with people who are addicted actually. So spiritual part is very, very important for the recovery actually. So physical part is doctor who is taking care of. Mental part is the psychiatrist taking care of. Emotion and spiritual part is something it is need actually. We need that environments actually affects the spiritual part. So if the environment and the family is strong, the spiritual part will be very fine, and that itself put so many breaks.
Okay, I think we're losing Mr. Albert again.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can continue.
Yeah. So my experience, actually, I'm basically slow learner. I get a lot of angry, so a lot of character defects I have. But because of my family's oriented, I did not got up with addicted. So because of that spiritual part protected me from this area. Actually. That's what I feel actually, because the defects I had, if maybe the spiritual environment won't be there, I would have caught up somewhere in the addictions. That was my experience. So the family who gives importance to the spiritual aspects, that prevents so much of addictions. Basically, what is the meaning of addiction? Addiction is actually asking more and more. I need more. That is the basic concept of addiction. So I'm not satisfied, I need more. So spiritual only gives that true meanings. Why should I need more? It gives meaning to that. So it makes me to realize and think about it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that is the part, spiritual part. I really enjoyed it. That makes me from all the addictions.
All right. Okay. I think both of you have a very interesting background, and I think we're going to have a very insightful conversation here on. So looking forward to that. So my first question is just, could you tell us a little bit more about Help Rehabilitation and how it was started?
Yeah. Yes. As I told you previously, I was quite a bit involved into this 12-step program. And the part of the program is to carry the message of recovery to other suffering alcoholics. And I was doing it for my recovery alone. And after that, I was involved during this process. I was involved into various treatment centers in Coimbatore. At that time, I'm talking about 10 years ago, 10 years back. There was not any proper, there were treatment facilities, but no rehab centers or where we can, it was just on the clinical side, where they address, they just give the treatment for physical damages or mental issues. Everything was treated separately. So at that time, I was involved into quite some centers, and there audio Albert audio problem போல இருக்கு உங்க இதுல சவுண்ட் வெளி சவுண்ட் வரும்.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, yes.
Yes. So when I was involved into this other treatment centers, I was not able to do it around independently, and because I myself come from the same problem issue or the same background of I could think like an alcoholic and I could speak their language. So there was a lot of identification with myself and the addicts, and the recovery process was still lagging somewhere around. So there was a gap, as Albert put it. That those gaps had to be filled, bridging the gaps actually. So that was the main idea of starting this Help Rehabilitation Center, which was the first institution. And once we started to connect with the alcoholics, our clients here, then we got a very good response. Our treatment procedures and our treatment program, to be in particular, was unique here, and it caught up very well. And the word of mouth, the strength grew, and we couldn't accommodate patients in our first center. And subsequently, the second center was started, Helping Hands De-Addiction Center in Coimbatore, and by the end of the second year, we had plans to do it more, because more and more patients, clients are coming in, and we had our neighborhood, Tirupur, we started another rehab, and the fourth was what was our plan was we should start an exclusive rehab for women addicts, alcoholics, and addicts, and but the potential here was a bit low, so we are a bit apprehensive about the new project, but it's still in the pipeline. So in the meantime, we came up with this old age home concept, and we are doing the same thing there. The fourth institution was old age home, help aged home. So this is how we have been traveling for the past 5 years. And what makes us unique here is we don't stick to any schedule as such. The treatment program, the treatment plan is something to follow a schedule. Morning breakfast, prayer, or that some 12-step recovery person will be giving some. He will be sharing his experience, and after that some recreation time, then lunch. It goes on. They follow a strict schedule. Like sticking to a schedule doesn't mean a proper program, because they don't involve themselves. They don't have the connect, and they don't have this program to do something. Actually, what we do is a treatment program is that contains activities which takes place in sequence, and that moves to a conclusion. That is the end result. This is a method of treatment. What we do, what we follow here. That is, the 12-step program is being emphasized, and we, by the time our client leaves our premises, he will be completing this entire program here, which the other centers, the other treatment facilities ask them to do as a follow program. But whereas we do it here, and as we will be discussing about it, the disease itself is a problem, this spiritual disease, spiritual malady, which can be overcome by this spiritual principles we follow. But not only spirituality, but we deal here with the 4 dimensions. That is the physical side. A proper detox will be done as soon as the client comes in. for admission. That process will take around 1 week, for 5 days to 1 week. And after he recovers physically, we move into the next phase where the psychiatrist and the psychologist, the mental issues and the emotional issues are being addressed. And then parallelly we go in with the spiritual program. We stick to a program that this is a 90 days treatment program what we follow here. And this during his stay here, apart from the first week and the last 15-20 days, which will be the rehabilitation process, the follow-up program will also will start here itself with the family members and the people who will take care of him outside the recovered fellowship. Those people will be coming here to take him. And in between this time, the treatment program is scheduled that he finishes the 12-step program here before leaving our center. This is what we do here in our rehab.
Okay. I think it's amazing how you were inspired with your own experience and started this. And the journey seems to have been going really well so far. And I wish you good luck for all the future journey that Help Rehabilitation has to take. So let's get into the topic of the webinar today. What are the different causes of addiction?
Albert, you start. And
Yeah.
voice breaker.
Yeah.
Your voice is breaking. Yeah.
கொஞ்சம் தள்ளி வச்சு பேசிக்கோங்க.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
It's still breaking. Mr. Albert, can you try turning your video off? Maybe then the audio will become clearer.
Okay, yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's clearer now. Yes, so my question was, what are the different causes of addiction?
Yeah, it is one is a mental disorder, genetic, peer pressure, highly excessive usage of addictions, environments that comes under the peer pressure. I found these are the very major causes of addictions. Genetic plays a very important role, and the peer pressure that is truly absurd. Actually, these two are the very major causes of addiction.
Okay.
And talking from the spiritual side, what we think is every human being tends to feel lonely or something lagging within him. See, there will be a vacuum inside him which has to be filled. Each one takes his own path, and some do sports, some do gym, some do some hobbies, others mingle with their family. And what happens here, some people tend to fill the vacuum with substance to get high or to come out of this vacuum, this emptiness that is within themselves. And what happens is then the physical part of the disease takes over. And as we know, not everyone who drinks becomes an alcoholic or an addict. Only 2 to 5% of the total strength turn out to become an alcoholic or an addict. And from my experience, I think there are no tests or anything that can be done to find out who will be a potential addict or alcoholic, to find it out. I don't think anything has been invented. Please enlighten me if there are any process, because you might have come into acquaintance with many people in this treatment facilities all. But I don't think it is not such an easy job to find out whether who will be an addict or alcoholic. So only then, only when they consume this alcohol, we can know whether they'll be a potential alcoholic or an addict. They will crave for more. Like Albert told, addiction is nothing but asking for more. They want more. They want more of everything. So that will actually to do it in a sequence. Actually, the alcoholism starts where the end point is this craving factor. Because once the alcohol put alcohol into his system, that is when the craving starts. But if he doesn't consume that, it is just a time bomb ticking inside him. Once the system is filled with alcohol, it then starts to crave for more. But if he stays away from alcohol, the craving doesn't occur. This physical issue doesn't get triggered. So the $1 million question is how to stay away from it. That is to stop this obsession, this mental obsession. How to come out of it is the main part of it. And if this thought hadn't crossed an alcoholic's mind to drink, he wouldn't have consumed alcohol at the first place. So the main problem of the alcoholic lies in his mind rather than his body. His mind does this obsession part, and it motivates him to drink and says whatever position he is in that present situation, it motivates him to drink and convinces him that it is not a problem to drink. And once he starts to drink, he puts alcohol into his system, he can't stop. He's on the wagon and it will go for a binge and it will end only after some damage physically, mentally, financially or socially. After that, he'll stop for a short period. And once he rejuvenates himself physically, mentally, and financially everywhere, then again the obsession comes from somewhere back of his mind. Crazy thought will appear that it will be okay this time to drink. So this is what happens with every alcoholic. And the reason behind this obsession, what we think we explain here to our patients is the emotional issues. When these emotional issues are being addressed, the obsession part doesn't occur in any alcoholics rather. So to maintain this emotional part, the spiritual angle has to be addressed. So when you are spiritually fit, the emotion is in balance, the emotional state is in balance, and when you are in a good emotional state, this obsession doesn't occur to the alcoholic personality, and he doesn't even have the thought of drinking. So he doesn't put alcohol into his system, and so the allergy, that is the craving part, is not triggered, and so his alcohol is put into control. Is what we insist on this spiritual program.
Okay. I think that was very informative. Like Mr. Albert also said that there are several different causes. And about how some emotional problems can create this vacuum inside us, which makes us seek for other things outside to fill that in, right? So there can be several different causes. But we've often seen that people see addiction as a moral or a social problem. So what do you have to say about that?
Albert?
That you explained. You go ahead.
Yeah. Now, this alcoholism is a disease. That is what we are convinced about, and we insist on our patients. We can't put it under the label of any moral defect or what do you call this social issue. See, this addiction happens whatever is the background. See, each alcoholic or drug addict comes from different backgrounds. Some are well-to-do, some are financially very good, some are well-educated, some are from a very good family, well-to-do family, good background, and other are come from a medium class, and some are poor layman people also. So the basic thing here, the common denominator is what we see here is we can't just label. See, this is the cause. You are see, I'm not accusing or blaming anyone. I'm just giving my views on this. Just labeling people. You are a maniac, you are you suffer from anxiety disorder, or you are a schizophrenic patient, or anything, whatever. Just labeling them doesn't help. Yeah, and we have to do something about. We have to get to the root cause. Just doing away with the symptoms of the disease won't give the solution to the main problem. The main problem, what we believe, is the spirituality, lack of spirituality, what we call a spiritual malady. That occurs. That is a common denominator for all people from all these class of walks of life. Yeah, morally speaking, you can't tell them that it is morally bad to drink, or morally bad to do this or do that. But what makes them do this is the main issue that has to be addressed. That is what I was talking about previously. Some people do drink socially. Some people even use drugs safely. But what the 5% of alcoholics and drug addicts visualize is, even they want to do them do the addiction like the others. Right. So like they do very casually. But whenever they start to do it, they end up with some issues. They end up with some problems, which is not to be blamed as moral issue. Which the society says that this particular man is not honest man. He see how his family is suffering, but this guy is going on drinking. How his wife is being suffocating from all his problems. So this can't be seen as a moral or a social issue. The main problem is his obsession to drink, which is making him to drink even after a long period of interval in between. I have seen alcoholics drink after 20 years, 15 years. So what makes that? What is the push that? See, they were sober for so many days. What made them to drink again? It was a mere thought in the back of the mind. See, I have been abstinent for so long period, and it will be okay for me to handle things with alcohol also, because I am away from alcohol for such a long period, is what convinces him. And what he thinks is he can drink without any problem this time. And he starts to drink, and his physical issues takes over. the time bomb, which I told about. See, even if we have a firecracker in our house, it just lies there. Unless and until you light it, it doesn't burst. So the same thing is within this firecracker is inside an alcoholic, and it gets ignited when the first drink is poured in. So the first drink does the damage, and the first thought which convinces him to take the first drink is the main reason for all this addiction. It may be alcohol or any other thing. Even for porn or sexual addiction, whatever their addiction may be, the first thing that instigates them to carry on with their addiction is the main problem. And to do away with that thought is where spirituality comes in.
Okay. So rather than just focusing on the symptoms, we should be looking at what the root cause of the problem is.
Yes,
right?
like we have a fever, we don't have to take a tablet for our body ache or for the cold. That is the symptoms of fever. We have to take the tablet for the fever, and the fever here is the spiritual malady, which we are talking about.
Right. Okay. So, like you also mentioned that people from all different kinds of backgrounds can have addiction, and this is not a moral or social problem. But do you think that some people might be more vulnerable to getting addiction than other people, or does everyone have an equal chance?
Speaking about the physical part, that is what I told you previously also. There are no separate class. See, some say science, previously they say it comes genetically. Somewhere down the line in my hereditary, someone should have been an alcoholic. But as far as I am concerned, for the 3 generations, which I have tried to find out, 4 generations to be correct, I don't have an alcoholic in my family tree. And I don't know how I landed up being an alcoholic and drug addict, which was not my thought when I first started it. I started like everyone. I just wanted to enjoy my life. Like everyone who started with me did. But somewhere around, I was left alone here, and everyone who started with me, they just carry on with their life in flying colors, and I was just going on doing this drugs and alcohol only. So this vulnerable class, as such, maybe this genetics I can't say. In my case, speaking, I didn't find anyone in my family tree, and even I come across a lot of alcoholics who don't have any alcoholics in their family also, but I don't see anything there. And the environment, the family, see, single parent, I have been studying about this. We can't say every alcoholic or addict, but major alcoholics are single parent. I find their family as a single parent. And some damages which they have faced in the very early ages, which can't be wiped out of their memory. It comes back once in a while in their subconscious also. That can be a trigger. So there are many reasons that can be we can tell. But the vulnerable people, I don't think anyone. Maybe Albert, you can elaborate.
Yeah. Actually, the people, environment makes people vulnerable. Actually, in my case, I was so vulnerable because people do compare me with others. So you can't study, you can't do anything. You are so they put me in some label. Actually, they made me vulnerable. Actually, so I accepted all those things. But only chance, because of my spiritual path is very strong, and I didn't get into addictions. So the people, they won't have this background, this kind of background. They easily caught up with somewhere to fill up these gaps with some addictions. So vulnerability, yes, that plays somewhere this role. Actually, I believe that. Actually.
Okay, so like I think both of you agreed that environment and some triggers in the childhood or difficult relationship could possibly
unhealed wounds that causes in the environment.
Right. Like
there are also therapy for this, which Albert does, the inner child healing process, which he does for this wounds that has been created for the very early age. There is a therapy also. Albert, you can talk, tell about
that. We follow up the inner child actually. Then we follow up the CBT and REBT therapies, group therapies, Gestalt. So much of therapies we follow. So from that we try to heal the wounds that caused in the early ages. So we try to go into the roots of the real causes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. You already mentioned that you can't really pinpoint and say this person is going to get addicted or the other person is not. But is there any way in your experience that you feel like addiction is something that can be prevented?
See, to tell about me from my own experience. See, when I was about 3 years old, sorry, it's not 3 years old. When I was in third standard, actually, I used to smell petrol from my father's bike. I used to open the lid of the petrol tank and inhale deeply. So I didn't know. The first thing was like everyone, I like the smell of petrol. But for that, I started to smell petrol. But once I started to open the lid and take a deep breath, that is where I think the addiction started. When in this 12-step program, we get to the roots. So that is when I came to find this. Even when I was studying third standard, I was able to remember that I was taking a trip by inhaling this petrol, which hits my head, and so everything will be blurred for about 5-10 seconds. And after some time, I again go back to petrol and casually inhale. So this is which I didn't have any plan to get intoxicated, or so I felt that was a feel-good situation. So right from there, I think my addictive personality started. And talking about my characters, everything, I was a very mischievous child, and uh, during one Diwali, I remember I burnt the cow shed. It was a small shed, thatch shed. I playfully lighted a rocket that hit the haystack there and started burning. And that was around a very small age. And what happened was after in my college days, the same thing happened again, but in a different situation. When I started to drink, that was during my college days only. And there was an issue between the canteen people and our group, because we were using their tumblers. Those days there were no use and throw tumblers. Their tumblers for our alcohol abuse. So and when they use it for some other purpose, they could easily find out that it has been used for alcohol. And there were constant friction going on between us. And what happened when the final day arrived, I in particular wanted to settle scores. So that was a thatched roof also, that particular canteen, and we lighted the canteen itself. And I, along with three boys, we were not allowed to write the final. We are not allowed to appear for the final semester because of this incident. So it started from my small age. Everything that I could relate. So these are the things which led to my addictive personality. Everything didn't start overnight. When and even today, when I sit with other alcoholics, and I started when I start to ask about their adolescent age, um, that is the part of the program. There we can find many things which he can relate it is current addictive behavioral patterns. So everything starts there at a very small age. That is what I was coming to say. So educating children at the school level about the addiction and what may be the results of addiction, even though we can't stop them, but once even if they get addicted, they know they will actually know a way out, which I didn't know until 18 years. I was very much into alcohol and drugs for 18 years, which I lost my entire youth on this addiction. So if we can educate the children at a very early age, see, in our times there were moral science like this, something which teaches some moral ethical values, which now they are academically, we are all in the we are pursuing academic careers and based education. The system, total system has changed. So there, if we plan for any system, education system, particularly dealing with the addictions also, the child, it may help him somewhere around his teenage, or even if he is addicted, he knows that there is a way out. There is some spiritual way, or some Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, whatever. Then he won't lose any time like me. Then he can easily come out of this addiction. So for me, to preventive measures has to be started at a very early stage, but you can't stop it. You can help them to come out of it.
Okay. Yeah, I think awareness is the main thing that's required and can, if not completely cure, but sort of better manage the whole situation.
Yeah.
Right? Because generally adolescents are not conscious about what the repercussions of their decisions are going to be. Right?
Yes.
And one thing leads to another. So
Yeah.
definitely that was a very good point. Mr. Albert, do you have anything to add here? All right, okay, let's move on to the next question. I think since we're also running short of time.
Okay.
So coming back to the treatment plan, you spoke about the 12-step program. So could
Yes.
you tell us in brief about the 12-step program?
Yeah. Basically, the first step is about admitting that I am an alcoholic, or I am an addict. Unless and until he admits his disease, the disease which I spoke a bit earlier, that he won't be able to address his emotional or the spiritual side. First, he has to admit that he is not able to drink the within his limits. That he earns for more. He craves for. But every few questions he says that is under control. I can ought to drink whenever. It is if he speaks, you can find he himself will find that whenever he goes, he won't be able to come out of this episode without having a much more higher amount which he planned for. If he goes in for a peg, he will end up drinking 6-7 pegs. That is what will happen. So that is the thing which differentiates him from others, and he has to admit that first. Once he admits, that is when he is ready for the solution side. That is that higher power. See, everyone doesn't have this belief in God. Somewhere around in his adolescent age, um, they will come far away from this religion side. But still, we are not emphasizing on any religion or any particular things to be done here, customary. So, what we ask them to do is, you are not the power which can handle your life. You have to believe that some power, some other power, a greater power or a higher power than you, that can give you the solution. You have to believe that. So the first step is about admitting that he is an alcoholic, and the second step is that he should believe that a power greater than himself will restore him to sanity. That sanity is that he has lost his mind when it comes to alcohol. The other aspects of other walks of life is quite okay, but when it comes to alcohol, he acts completely insane, and only a higher power can bring him back to restore him back to this sanity. And after that, the third step is to hand over his will, that is his thinking, and his life, that is his actions, the actions which he does, to the care of the higher power. And he won't be the director of life anymore, and there will be a higher power who will be doing that. Each and every action that in future he does will be handled by the higher power, is this spiritual angle. Again, I am saying this, it is not a god, it is something, a higher power. It may be nature, it may be someone close to him who is not alive, whatever it may be, but there has to be a higher power. That definitely has, it has not to be him, because I was doing it on my self will. Now it will be done by a god will or some higher power. So that is the third step, and after that, fourth step to ninth step is all action steps that will make the voice to be a bit louder. I don't know whether you will be able to identify this, what I am saying right now. Each and every alcoholic, whenever he drinks, there will be a small sound inside him saying not to drink. But that sound will be very feeble, and the sound which is on the higher side is the one which asks him to drink, instigate him to drink, forces him to drink. That is self-will, and which asks him not to drink is the God's will, which is inside him. So this journey is to find the higher power inside you. It is not about seeking it outside, but it's a journey inside. And to make it more powerful, that to hear the sound, the voice more clearly, we start with the fourth step, that is to write down everything, the defects or the things which has gone wrong, which we have done wrong. It may be major thing is fear, resentment, sex, and harms done to others. We write it down. And the fifth step is talking with someone else about it. That breaks down our ego, because writing itself is a very hard thing to do. To bring it out in black and white, our past everything, past things which we won't even have the guts to think it, to recall it. We have to bring it in a paper is big feat, and much more difficult part is to tell about it to others. That so the main function of this step is the ego deflation. At a death, the ego has to be deflated at death, which is the main. The ego is the main element of this addiction. So the sixth step is to let the higher power take everything out of you. Whatever is there in the paper, it has to be the higher power has to take it out of you. You are getting ready to take it out of you. And seventh step is seeking help from the higher power. And eighth step is writing from your list. In the fourth step list, you have this amends list. the harms done to others, who are the people, and what are the situations. You have to do some amends on this, because remorse is also a cause for addiction, for drinking, or guilt and remorse I'm talking about. So to do away with this guilt and remorse, we write all the people, the names, everything, whom we have to do amends, and the ninth step is doing the amends. So from fourth to nine, what all things we write down, we speak it out, we ask our higher power to do it away. Sixth and seventh, and eighth and ninth is about amends. After doing all these things, we'll be almost in the one line. The self will and God will be in a same plane. And previously it was in opposite directions. Now we are here to listen. We don't do anything impulsively. We just act upon our intuitive thoughts with our help of the higher power. And now the 10, 11, and 12 steps are maintenance of the spiritual maintenance steps. That is, 10th is we look out for 4 factors. What are selfishness thoughts, or resentment, or hatred thoughts, or fear thoughts, or dishonest thoughts. When these thoughts comes up in our mind, we immediately do 4 things. That is, we ask our higher power to remove the thought about these 4 things. We immediately ask the higher power to remove the thought. We discuss it with someone else. The second thing we do. The third thing is we do amends if necessary. And the fourth is we immediately go and help someone. So whenever these 4 things comes, we do these 4 things. And this is how our thought pattern will be throughout the day. This is how we'll be doing our, and this comes by practice. That is what we do here. And the 11th step is through prayer and meditation. We develop a conscious contact with our higher power, which was not able, which we were not able to do previously. Now we are able. Prayer is what we talk to God, and meditation is what God we hear what God has to do. God has plan for us. God has a plan for our lives. So we listen through meditation. And prayer and meditation are the basic tools to develop a conscious contact. And we just pray for His will, to know His will, and the strength to carry out His will. Nothing more than that. So no selfish prayers asking for this, that, or anything, which we wasted our time, a lot of our time and energy previously. Now we just seek out for His will and the energy, power to carry it out. And that is the 11th step. And 12th step is now we have this spiritual awakening. As a result of all these steps, we have this spiritual awakening. Now just now we are awakened to the reality. All this time we were just sleeping. See, we may be this 5 sensory, we are like seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and feeling are the 5 sensory things. But we were also given this spiritual perception by our higher power. We were born with that, but we were sleeping on that, and now we are awakened to that. This is what spiritual awakening. Till now, we were not awakened to the spiritual side. Only now, after doing all this, now this spiritual channel opens up, and there will be no self-seeking, self-centered, and dishonest or selfish thoughts in our mind. That does away with fears. So if we don't have fear, we don't have to again go back to drinking. Like we do it before. See, for an example, I don't have to face the debtor in person, even to call and tell him, to the person who I have borrowed money, even to call and tell him I need a drink. Without that, I thought, and I used to tell others that I'm a very brave personality, but deep down inside, I was just fearing. Very afraid and very fearsome personality. So once now we are doing all these things and is spiritually awakened, now I can know that fear is nothing but a symptom that higher power is not present. If higher power is present, you will have the courage to do anything. But when I believe in myself, I tend to have fear. When I believe in some higher power, I know about enormous strength, and I get this courage. So this is now the spiritual awakening is the first part of the 12th step, and second part is I carry this message to others, which I previously I was doing outside. Now I do it in my rehab, and follow this in all walks of my life, not only in my work, in my family, in my friends, and in all walks of my. I do this spiritual work everywhere. So these are the 12 steps which we practice. We insist on practicing not only in this vicinity, but also outside in our lives. Yes.
I think that was very informative. And also talks a lot about what the role of spirituality is in treatment, right? So I just wanted to ask, what happens in case this spiritual aspect of the treatment is ignored while treating addiction?
Yes, that is what happens. Actually, this is not a course completion certificate. Once I do this, I get spiritually awakened, everything is okay. The main part is 10, 11, and 12 is to maintenance of my spiritual element. The maintenance is very important. The enlarging on my spirituality is very important, because if I am having a slack in doing this spiritual work daily, I tend to get fearsome. I tend to get irritated, which is my major issue. Because so for a normal person, if he gets irritated, anger will be just the result of that irritation. But for an alcoholic or an addict, he has to substitute this irritation with alcohol or some other substance. Each and every emotion has to be balanced. The balance is through substance. So if we don't get into this emotional disorders, I won't be having the need to balance with another substance. So maintenance of this spirituality is a very crucial element which we emphasize, and that is what we do it as a follow-up. We ask them to call regularly whenever they have any mood swings. We ask them either to come here for 2-3 days, even people come and stay here and go. If they have any problem, we ask about the main thing is we shouldn't stay where the problem is. If the problem is the house, come and stay here. That is what we tell them. And everywhere here nearby, there is a local fellowship to always give them a helping hand. And so they do this entire work along with their family. And even the dependents of alcoholics, they have a separate program like this 12 steps. Their family members also do. Then they're called Al-Anon and Al-Atin. So the dependents of alcoholics are equally affected emotionally and physically because of the addiction. So the spiritual principles has to be maintained.
Okay. It sounds like the spiritual aspect kind of also prevents relapse in patients, right?
Definitely.
So in your experience, have you ever had difficulty doing this in case the patients might be atheist or agnostic? And in that case, how can it be modified?
Yeah. In the big book that is Alcoholics Anonymous, the Bible of Alcoholics, there is a separate chapter for agnostics. See, atheist is not an issue because they have a strong belief that there is no God. And believers also, there is no problem because they have a strong belief that there is God, someone to help him. So each one is very strong in their belief. But this agnostic he believes God, but he acts on his own principles, on his own way, on his own conscience. That is where we tend to fall into addiction. So that is why the separate chapter, we agnostics, were given in the big book. and it addresses that deep down every man and woman there is an idea, there is a spiritual angle which he is not able to do it. It is maybe he is shy to kneel down in front of others, or say that he is into some religious principles or spiritual adoration or whatever meditation or anything it may be. But the spiritual part is common for an atheist, agnostic, or a believer. Everyone has this idea deep down within themselves that there is some higher power which has been leading, guiding their lives till then.
Okay. All right. So we're almost out of time. So maybe we can start taking some questions from the audience. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right. We have a lot of questions here. Okay, so I'm just going to read out the first one. It says there is a psychedelic drug called DMT, which is also referred as the spirit molecule, which is shown to affect a person's mental health in a very positive way, to give them an overwhelming spiritual experience when it is smoked. What is your view on it? What is your views about it? You have any idea? Do you have any idea about the same? So it's asking about the drug DMT.
Yeah. Okay. See, for a personality, drug addictive personality like me, there is no need for any external substance to stimulate my spirituality. Because the base of addiction is this: I bring some foreign element into my body to get a different experience, whereas the experience which I hope for won't be attained, but it will the effects will be adverse, and also the other main part is I get addicted to it. I won't get the effect which I started at the first place to do this drug. And see, like for a mere smoking experience, I'll tell you, I whenever I get boiled up, I think if I smoke, everything will be okay. But once I smoke, the thing will be twice or thrice more than the previous situation. Nothing will go away, but it will just the effects will be adverse. So external stimulant is not needed for inducing spirituality.
Okay, all right. There is another question asking, is there a difference in severity of addiction depending on geography in India? So would you say some people in one part of the country are more prone to addiction than others?
No. See, an alcoholic drinks even if it rains or on a sunny day or on a windy day. It doesn't matter for him. Everything is the same thing for him. See, the only thing he needs is he wants to drink. Even if he is not getting any alcohol, he will prepare alcohol on his own. He'll try if now there are many informative things available on the net itself. But anyhow, he will have this idea of getting drunk or do some other things like drugs to get some high. So whatever be the atmosphere or whatever be the environment, the thing is the real problem is not outside.
Yeah.
Because our thing is everything as inside. Everything the real problem is my inside, my thinking. It is not the drinking. It is my thinking.
Right. I mean, people can look for excuses from the environment, like you said, it's a sunny day or it's a rainy day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good example. Okay, so there's another question asking, how do you deal with patients who have both addiction and OCD problems? Have you come across any patients like that?
Yes. See, that is where we get this psychiatric help. We just don't alone depend on spiritual solutions only. We have everything hand in hand only is our treatment. That is what I told you previously. The 4 dimensions has to be addressed: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So all alcoholics will have some psychiatric issues. All addicts and alcoholics will have some psychiatric issues which has to be addressed. Their psychiatric issues may be a reason for their addiction, or because of their addiction they may have some psychiatric issues. Either way, it has to be treated by a psychiatrist.
Okay. There's another interesting question asking, are passionate and honest people more prone to addiction?
It is my idea on this again. All alcoholics I have come across, they are very qualified, they are very intellectual, they are very talented. Even at one point of time, I thought only these kind of people will get into addiction. But it is not so. Nothing can be a reason for addiction. It is the main thing is his physical side and his spiritual side. The reason in between is this emotional angle. So all these 3 sides has to be the reasons for his addiction.
Okay. I think maybe we can take one last question.
Yeah.
Have you come across any addiction patients who have mania and depression? What was your experience and how did the treatment go?
See, again, it's like OCD. This has to be treated again by there are patients with bipolar issues, drug addicts with bipolar issues, and manic issues. There has to be some psychiatric problem when you get addicted. So it has to be treated simultaneously.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So I'm sorry, Mr. Albert, we couldn't get a lot of answers from you because of the internet connectivity issue. But I think overall it was very insightful and informative and a very interesting conversation. So these are all the questions that I have. I can hand it over now to Akansha. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rajnandini. Thank you so much. So thank you so much, Mr. Albert and Mr. Joseph, for such an insightful session and such an informative session. I'm sure it will help a lot of people in our network. So before we conclude, do you have any message for the audience, like a general message for the audience, Mr. Albert and Mr. Joseph?
Albert?
Yes. Be aware of addictions, your environment. So be with the family. Family is first. So enjoy your life without addictions. So be free from all addictions. Enjoy your life.
And one more thing. However, they may the level of addiction they may be in, and their problems may be physically, mentally, financially, socially, whatever problems they may face today, they can definitely come out of everything once they quit from their addiction. And there is no need to think that we are crossed the limits of seeking any help. There is always help to be provided, and there is no such point in our life as the end of it. There is always a turning point. We can turn around, and that will be my thought, closing thought. Yeah.
Thank you so much, both of you, for the great message, and thank you once again for coming today on a webinar, and thank you to all our audience for the active participation. So we'll be soon back with another webinar. Till then, stay safe and have a great weekend. Bye.
Thank you, Rajnandini and Akansha.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah.